And like, while I was distracted and like typing out the title, I kind of misstepped and did one of those things where like your leg kind of buckles at the ankle. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, thank goodness I wasn't live yet. Anyway, so I was gonna go live yesterday, but I feel like this is something that can be said in a chalk. The end of that last live, I guess I've been marinating in it a little bit because it doesn't seem like strictly political or whatever. And it feels more so about like where we're going, what's coming, what's happening, what we still have to choose, and the time that we still have to set our life on whatever trajectory we want it to be on. This is the angle because, I chalk in the cemetery and I'm trying to be respectful to the folks resting here. So, yeah. And then also, like, I'm walking, the paths in the cemetery are like wide enough that folks drive through them, right? And so I also have to be at least semi-aware, excuse me, to make sure no one's like trying to get by or get through. So anyway, yeah, so I was like, I'm just sitting in it sort of yesterday, and I'm like, it doesn't necessarily feel like there's nothing that can be done, right? Like with the devil card that came out in the before tarot, the chains aren't connected to the hook yet. They're still in the devil's hands, and so he could still drop them. Or you could slip the whatever because they're loose enough. If you see them, you can slip them. But if we choose to remain ignorant and blind or pretend like we don't know or see, then obviously we're not going to slip them before it's too late. And that could be any arena and aspect. It doesn't necessarily have to be the end of days, but we all live our own individual lives. And when we end, our worlds end, right? And so it's like there could be something to that scale of like catastrophe personally because we're in it. You know what I mean? And our lives to some degree are our world. So anyway, and I didn't necessarily want to tack it onto the beginning of like another live because see, I don't know what it is about these vertical lives that YouTube apparently just like loves to excuse me, promote. It is so springy. You see my eye watering? Ooh, I took an allergy pill, but people are mowing. The trees are throwing out the pollen. I feel like as much pollen is in the air, I'm not seeing that many bees or butterflies or like pollinators. You know what I mean? Where are the pollinators at? Hello? Anyway, yeah, I didn't want to tack it onto the beginning of another video. My eye is like really watering now because, you see all that? Probably not. There you go. You see all that? And of trees in here. And when that wind blows, the stuff be in the air and it salts my eyes. All right, let me focus. Yeah, it didn't feel right to attack into the beginning of another life because I didn't necessarily want it when it came out. And I for sure don't necessarily want it to bleed over. But also at the same time, I feel like there are certain times when certain things are necessary, especially because of what is happening or what is coming or the lessons that it's important that we learn before we proceed in whatever direction for whatever reason, right? So I think the sun's gonna be at my back now. Um, so yeah, and that's pretty much it. I was gonna go through. I might still. I don't know, because again, it's not necessarily political or to attack anyone's beliefs, um, but at the same time, it sort of is what it is, and I think sometimes, again, when we don't recognize, acknowledge how we got where we are, it makes it a lot easier to keep on a path that we don't want to be on. And so also I was wondering, I'm like, is something happening astrologically? Because it feels like a huge, it's almost like a Saturnian influence, but on a like global sort of scale, because it's like collective ramifications and not just personal ones, right? Like personal ramifications would be, you know, you operate your business kind of shadily, and now some things are coming out into the light, and some organization, governing body is like seizing your assets and fortune and stuff like that, and then you go to jail, right? Like something like that is personal, but again, it feels super intimidating, especially when it calls forth such biblical imagery. Um, but instead of it being personal and individual, it's almost like a whole group of people or a whole town or a whole organization, like all of or a significant majority of the population has been making these choices, and because of that something happens to the entire town, the entire organization, the entire whatever, right? It's judgment being called down on an area because of the people in that area and not just individual people. Um, and so, you know, like that, when we saw the two cards of protection and then the card of mercy, in those cases, scenarios, and situations, you know, you'll have your out, you'll have your, hey, like maybe we should go on vacation this week, or you know, maybe I should be looking into another job. Like opportunities will start to come up, they're like the way out will be provided. And if we are in tune with our intuition and discernment, we may not necessarily know what's going to go down, but we will recognize that opportunity as something for us to take, right? We intuit that, hey, something is nudging me in this direction. We discern it's the divine and we should do it. And then we find out, oh my gosh, like if I would have been at home when that happened, or if I would have still been in that organization when that happened, right? So I feel like that's sufficient. I don't necessarily have to get into like all the ways where you could see the mismatch between communicated values and the choices and actions that people make, right? Like if it really was what we thought it was, then it would look differently and it would feel differently, because what it's just like so different. But yeah, not necessary. I feel like I can just leave this here, and then I'm gonna open up that other booster pack and we're gonna see what's up. I was too just thinking, especially because the last live was about like the abyss versus the void, and I didn't title the video what I wanted to title the video, because when I clicked on the video to make sure it was the video like I was thinking it was, because I put the title on later, like it was different, because that was just a part of it. But it was the one where like there was a hermit that was staring into the abyss, And rather than like his mind unraveling and losing touch with reality and becoming ungrounded and his mind sort of fracturing and shattering, we saw the fractal. Anyway, it was like he was seeing the things that connected everything. So through, I guess, the context of yesterday, it was like seeing the void through the abyss, seeing the space where there's like everything and nothing, because it's the space before form, through the darkness to see all that. So yeah, that's it. I feel like this was a good choice because I don't have to get all the way into it. So yeah, just, I don't know. And then I was thinking, because I know Uranus is in Gemini. We're in Gemini season now. Pluto is in Aquarius, so we're making that, we have that trine for a minute, at least between Uranus and Pluto. And I feel like Uranus in Aquarius would make sense in terms of like sort of the scale, again with that biblical energy. And it's, it's also because of the deck that I was using, the decks, right? Getting that biblical energy out of, angels and demons, and then Diablo, the video game, which is the lore of Diablo, is an account of the battle between angels and demons and humanity caught in the middle. So it's like, yeah, using those decks, it's not surprising, but still, it's not anything I go looking for. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, Uranus in Aquarius. I could see something like that. But because Pluto is there, I feel like as harsh as it is, there is an element of justice to Pluto. Like, I feel like there's a certain like wantonness to Uranus where there is a reason, but Uranus may not necessarily be discriminating in how it operates. Like with Uranus, that's when you get a whole bunch of collateral damage and people caught in the crossfire that were like innocent bystanders. Kind of like Mars, but to a whole other level. Because instead of it being battlefields, it's like planets instead of like a city. But yeah, with Pluto there's an element of deservedness and justice and sort of like things that have been a long time coming, and not just because it takes so long, 256 years, right, to make it through the zodiac, but also just because of maybe what it dredges up. So again, before all of that catches up to us, we can use our free will to make things right in the ways we can to get ourselves on a path that we actually want to be on. Again, if you win a vacation and it's not a scam and your discernment is saying take it, maybe it's the time to take that golden opportunity, which is a gorgeous energy in and of itself. So all right, that's it. I hope y'all have amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I hope that whatever you need along your path, journey, and way, you find. I got 2 more laps and then a trip home.